The alien ship plummets through Earth's atmosphere, a blazing streak against the Pleistocene sky. Tara, the lone Senkethi survivor, stumbles from the smoking wreckage into a world 40,000 years before her time. Her silver skin gleams in the primitive sunlight as she surveys the untamed landscape, heart racing with the realization that she's stranded among early humans. Nearby, Dylan Parker crouches in the underbrush, spear gripped tightly. The tribe's leader watches the strange being emerge, his instincts warring between caution and curiosity. He's never seen anything like her, clearly not human, yet possessing an intelligence that shines in her alien eyes. Tara activates her universal translator, the device humming to life. She takes a tentative step towards Dylan, hands raised in a universal gesture of peace. "I mean no harm," she says, her words translated into guttural proto-language. Dylan stands, towering over the petite alien. He sniffs the air, detecting an unfamiliar scent emanating from her. Something primal stirs within him, a response he doesn't understand. "Who are you?" he demands, gesturing with his spear. "What are you?" Tara opens her mouth to respond, but a sudden wave of dizziness overtakes her. Her body trembles, adjusting to Earth's atmosphere and gravitational pull. As she steadies herself, she becomes acutely aware of a change occurring within her biology. The planet's seasons are triggering something unexpected, the onset of her species' mating cycle. Dylan notices her discomfort and lowers his weapon slightly. Despite his misgivings, he can't leave this strange creature alone and vulnerable. "Come," he grunts, motioning towards the forest. "Our settlement is near. We will watch you there." As they trek through the ancient woods, Tara's personal data device buzzes with information. She learns of the human struggles, dwindling food supplies, rival tribes encroaching on their territory, and the looming threat of a harsh winter. Dylan leads with confident strides, but the weight of leadership shows in the tight set of his shoulders. Arriving at the settlement, Tara draws curious and fearful stares from the tribespeople. Children hide behind their mothers, while warriors grip their weapons tightly. Dylan calls for calm, explaining in simple terms that their visitor is not a threat. As night falls, Tara sits by the communal fire, her alien presence a stark contrast to the primitive surroundings. She shivers, not from cold, but from the growing intensity of her mating urges. Her gaze keeps drifting to Dylan, studying his strong features, illuminated by the flickering flames. Dylan catches her stare and holds it, an unspoken tension crackling between them. He's drawn to her in a way he can't explain, fascinated by her advanced knowledge and strange beauty. But as tribe leader, he knows the dangers of the unknown. Tara's mind races with possibilities. Her deep space sensors have detected a Senkethi rescue ship already en route. Soon she'll face a monumental decision. Help these humans with her advanced knowledge, potentially altering the course of history, or maintain the non-interference protocols of her people. As the fire dies down and the tribe settles for the night, Tara remains awake, acutely aware of Dylan's proximity. Her body thrums with unfamiliar desires, her logical mind warring with primal instincts. She knows that giving in could change everything. For her, for Dylan, for the entire human race. In the distance, a wolf howls, its cry echoing through the ancient night. Tara shivers, sensing that her arrival has set in motion events that will shape the destiny of two species. As sleep finally claims her, she dreams of silver skin against bronze, of advanced technology merging with primal strength, and of a future that defies the laws of time itself. The first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, casting long shadows across the primitive encampment. Tara stirred from her restless sleep, her silver skin shimmering in the early light. The unfamiliar sensations coursing through her body had only intensified overnight, leaving her feeling both exhilarated and uneasy. As she sat up, she noticed Dylan already awake, tending to the smoldering remains of last night's fire. Their eyes met, and Tara felt a jolt of electricity run through her. She quickly averted her gaze, trying to regain her composure. "You sleep well?" Dylan grunted, his voice gruff but tinged with concern. Tara nodded, not trusting herself to speak. She busied herself with checking her personal data device, grateful for the distraction. The screen flickered to life, displaying a troubling weather forecast. A harsh winter was approaching, far sooner than the tribe seemed prepared for. Over the next few days, Tara observed the humans' struggles with growing concern. Their hunting parties returned with meager catches, and the gathered provisions wouldn't last long against the coming cold. She knew she had to act. One evening, as the tribe huddled around the fire for warmth, Tara approached Dylan. "I can help," she said, her translator converting her words into the tribe's proto-language. "I have knowledge that could improve your hunting techniques." Dylan's eyes narrowed, a mix of curiosity and suspicion crossing his face. "Show me," he said finally, gesturing for her to continue. Tara began by demonstrating more efficient spear designs, using materials readily available in the surrounding forest. She showed them how to create snares and traps, increasing their chances of capturing prey without expending precious energy. The tribe watched in awe as she fashioned tools they had never imagined possible. As the days passed, the effects of Tara's innovations became clear. Hunting parties returned with fuller catches, and the tribe's food stores began to grow. Dylan spent more time with Tara, eager to learn everything she could teach him. They would sit for hours, heads bent close together, as Tara explained concepts from her world and Dylan shared the wisdom of his people. But as Tara's influence grew, so did the complications of her presence. Her mating cycle had entered a critical phase, causing her body to emit powerful pheromones. The effect on the human males was palpable. Fights broke out more frequently, with warriors jostling for position and challenging each other over trivial matters. Dylan struggled to maintain order, his own judgment clouded by his growing attraction to Tara. He found himself watching her when she wasn't looking, mesmerized by the graceful way she moved and the intelligence that shone in her eyes. One crisp morning, as Tara demonstrated a new technique for preserving meat, a commotion erupted at the edge of the camp. A group of hunters burst through the tree line, their faces etched with fear. "Grok's tribe!" one of them shouted, gasping for breath. "They're coming!" Dylan sprang into action, ordering the women and children to take shelter while the warriors prepared for battle. Tara watched in horror as the primitive defenses were hastily erected. She knew they wouldn't be enough. "Dylan," she called out, her voice urgent. "Let me help. I have knowledge that could protect your people." For a moment, Dylan hesitated. Then, seeing the tenacity in Tara's eyes, he nodded. "Show us," he said. Together they worked quickly, Tara guiding the tribe in constructing more effective barricades and designing simple but deadly traps. As Grok's warriors appeared on the horizon, Dylan's people stood ready, armed with new weapons and tactics they had never before possessed. The battle was fierce but short-lived. Grok's tribe, caught off guard by the unexpected defenses, retreated into the forest, leaving behind their wounded and dead. In the aftermath, as the tribe tended to their injured, Dylan sought out Tara. He found her standing at the edge of the camp, her silver skin gleaming with exertion. "You saved us," he said simply, his voice thick with emotion. Tara turned to face him, her alien features softening. "I couldn't stand by and watch your people suffer," she replied. They stood in silence for a moment, the air between them charged with unspoken tension. Dylan took a step closer, his hand reaching out as if to touch her face. Tara felt her breath catch in her throat, her body responding to his proximity in ways she couldn't control. But before their moment could deepen, a child's cry shattered the silence. Dylan pulled back, the spell broken. "I should go," he muttered, turning away. Tara watched him leave, her pupils dilating. She knew she was walking a dangerous line. Her presence here was already altering the course of human development. If she stayed, if she allowed herself to act on her growing feelings for Dylan, the consequences could be catastrophic. As night fell, Tara stood alone at the edge of the camp, staring up at the star-filled sky. Somewhere up there, her rescue ship was getting closer. Soon she would have to make a choice that would affect not just her future, but the future of all humanity. In the distance, a wolf howled, its mournful cry echoing through the ancient forest. Tara shivered, knowing that the true challenges were only just beginning. The days that followed were fraught with tension. As Tara's influence within the tribe grew, so did the complications of her presence. Her mating cycle entered a critical phase, causing her body to emit increasingly potent pheromones. The effect on the human males was undeniable, with fights breaking out more frequently and warriors jostling for position over trivial matters. Dylan struggled to maintain order, his own judgment clouded by his growing attraction to Tara. He found himself watching her when she thought he wasn't looking, mesmerized by her alien grace and intelligence. But as the tribe's leader, he knew he had to put his people's needs first. One night, as the camp settled into an uneasy sleep, a group of young warriors, overwhelmed by Tara's pheromones, attempted to abduct her. Tara awoke to rough hands grabbing at her arms, panic flooding her system. She let out a sharp cry, alerting Dylan, who sprang into action. Dylan's powerful form burst through the darkness, tackling the would-be kidnappers. Fists flew and bodies tumbled in the dirt as he fought off the young men. Tara watched in awe as Dylan's primal strength and willpower overcame the group, driving them back into the shadows of the camp. Panting heavily, Dylan turned to Tara, his eyes wild with a mixture of concern and something deeper, more primal. "Are you hurt?" he asked, his voice rough with exertion. Tara shook her head, her silver skin gleaming in the moonlight. "No, thanks to you," she replied, her voice trembling slightly. As they stood there, the air between them charged with unspoken tension, a commotion erupted at the edge of the camp. Shouts of alarm rang out, followed by the unmistakable sound of weapons clashing. "Grok's forces!" someone yelled. "They're attacking!" Dylan's expression hardened as he snapped into leadership mode. "Tara, stay close," he ordered, grabbing a spear and moving towards the source of the disturbance. The night exploded into chaos as Grok's warriors poured into the settlement. The attack coincided with a sudden severe snowstorm, wind and ice lashing at the combatants as they clashed in the darkness. Dylan led his people in the defense, using the advanced techniques and weapons Tara had taught them. Spears flew with deadly accuracy, and traps sprung shut on unsuspecting attackers. But Grok's forces were numerous, and driven by a fervor that seemed to outweigh their fear of the storm. As the battle raged, Tara found herself forced to reveal more of her true capabilities. When a group of Grok's warriors broke through the defensive line, she activated a personal force field, the shimmering energy barrier repelling their weapons. The sight of this advanced technology sent ripples of shock through both sides of the conflict. In the midst of the fray, Tara's personal device buzzed urgently. She glanced at it, her heart's racing as she saw the alert. A Tsenkethi scout ship had entered Earth's atmosphere, its sensors searching for her signal. Time seemed to slow as Tara realized the weight of the moment. Her rescue was at hand, but leaving now, in the middle of this battle, felt impossible. Her gaze found Dylan, who was locked in combat with two of Grok's largest warriors. In that instant, overcome by her biological imperatives and the genuine feelings she'd developed, Tara made her choice. She rushed to Dylan's side, using her alien strength to help him fend off the attackers. As the last one fell, she grabbed Dylan's arm, pulling him close. "Dylan," she said, her voice urgent, "I don't have much time. I need to—" Her words were cut short as Dylan's lips crashed against hers. The kiss was fierce, primal, a culmination of days of pent-up tension and desire. Tara's body responded instantly, her silver skin flushing with heat. Their moment of passion was abruptly shattered by a thunderous crash. A section of the settlement's defenses had given way, allowing a fresh wave of Grok's warriors to pour in. "No!" Dylan growled, tearing himself away from Tara. "We can't let them through." As they turned to rejoin the fight, a blinding light cut through the snowstorm. The Tsenkethi scout ship hovered above the battlefield, its otherworldly presence freezing the combatants in their tracks. Grok's warriors began to falter, many throwing down their weapons and fleeing into the night, believing they were witnessing the wrath of angry gods. But a core group of Grok's most loyal followers saw this as an opportunity, redoubling their efforts to reach Tara. In the confusion, Tara's personal data device was struck by a stray spear, the screen cracking and sparks flying. She felt a wave of panic as her connection to her advanced knowledge and her ability to contact her rescuers vanished. "Dylan!" she called out, her voice barely audible over the din of battle. "My device is broken. I can't—" Her words were cut short as Grok himself appeared before them, his massive form somehow more terrifying in the eerie light cast by the Tsenkethi ship. With a roar of triumph, he swung his club directly at Tara. Dylan's body moved faster than thought, interposing himself between Tara and the deadly blow. There was a sickening crunch as the club connected with Dylan's side, sending him sprawling to the ground. "No!" Tara screamed, dropping to her knees beside Dylan's crumpled form. Blood seeped into the snow beneath him, his breathing shallow and ragged. As Grok loomed over them, ready to strike again, Tara felt something snap inside her. Drawing on strength she didn't know she possessed, she rose to face the brutish leader, her alien features set in a mask of dedication. The battle raged on around them, the fate of two tribes, and perhaps the future of humanity itself, hanging in the balance. Above, the Tsenkethi ship continued its search pattern, a constant reminder of the choice Tara would soon have to make. But for now, with Dylan's life ebbing away beside her, and Grok's imposing figure before her, Tara had only one thought: survive. Tara's muscles tensed as she faced Grok, her silver skin gleaming with persistence. The brutal leader raised his club again, but Tara was faster. She ducked under his swing and drove her fist into his solar plexus, channeling her alien strength. Grok stumbled back, wheezing, his eyes wide with shock. The tide of battle shifted. Inspired by Tara's bravery, Dylan's warriors rallied, pushing back against Grok's forces with renewed vigor. The Tsenkethi ship's light cast long shadows across the battlefield, adding to the surreal chaos of the moment. As the fighting raged on, Tara knelt beside Dylan, cradling his head in her lap. "Stay with me," she whispered, her voice trembling. She tore strips from her own clothing, using them to staunch the flow of blood from his side. The battle lasted through the night, but by dawn, Grok's remaining forces retreated into the forest, leaving behind their wounded and dead. The tribe's victorious cheers were tempered by the somber task of tending to their own injured. In the days that followed, Tara threw herself into caring for the wounded, particularly Dylan. She applied her advanced medical knowledge, using herbs and primitive tools in ways the tribe had never seen before. Under her care, Dylan's condition slowly improved, though he remained weak and bedridden. As Dylan recovered, Tara took on more responsibilities within the tribe. She led hunting parties, showing them how to craft more effective weapons and traps. She taught them new ways to preserve food, ensuring their stores would last through the harsh winter months. With each passing day, the tribe's admiration for her grew. One evening, as Tara sat by Dylan's side, he reached out and took her hand. "You've done so much for us," he said, his voice still weak but filled with warmth. "The tribe sees you as one of our own now." Tara felt a surge of emotion, both joy and guilt intertwining in her chest. "I'm glad I could help," she replied softly. "But Dylan, there's something I need to tell you." Before she could continue, a commotion erupted outside. Tara rushed to investigate, finding a group of hunters returning from the forest, their faces etched with fear and awe. "We saw spirits in the woods," one of them exclaimed, his voice shaking. "They moved like no creature we've ever seen, their bodies covered in strange skins." Tara's heart raced as she realized the hunters must have encountered a Tsenkethi scouting party. She opened her mouth to explain, but another hunter cut her off. "We managed to capture one," he announced proudly, gesturing to a bound figure being dragged into the camp. The tribe gathered around, murmuring in a mixture of fear and curiosity. The captured Tsenkethi, still encased in its protective suit, thrashed against its bonds, emitting muffled sounds that the humans interpreted as otherworldly wails. "It's an evil spirit," someone shouted. "We should kill it before it brings a curse upon us." "No," Tara cried out, pushing her way through the crowd. "You don't understand. This is not a spirit. It's like me." A hush fell over the gathering as all eyes turned to Tara. She took a deep breath, knowing that the moment she had been dreading had finally arrived. "There's something I need to tell you all," she began, her voice steady despite her inner turmoil. But before Tara could explain further, a familiar roar echoed from the edge of the camp. Grok had returned, leading a force larger than before. His warriors brandished a mix of primitive weapons and stolen advanced tools, their eyes wild with a fanatical gleam. "Give us the sky, woman!" Grok bellowed, his voice carrying across the clearing. "Her power belongs to us!" As the tribe scrambled to defend themselves, Tara felt a buzz against her skin. She looked up to see the Tsenkethi ship descending, its search pattern becoming more focused. Time was running out. In that moment, Tara faced an impossible choice. She could use her advanced technology to end the conflict with Grok decisively, potentially altering the course of human history. Or she could stand back, allowing events to unfold naturally at the risk of Dylan and his tribe's destruction. The captured Tzenkethi scout took advantage of the chaos, slipping free of its bonds and activating a hidden distress beacon. The signal pierced the air, a high-pitched whine that set human teeth on edge. As Grok's warriors clashed with the tribe's defenders at the camp's edge, and the Tzenkethi ship drew ever closer, Tara stood at the center of it all. Her eyes met Dylan's across the chaos, and in that shared glance she saw all the possibilities of what could have been. With her heart pounding and her mind racing, Tara made her decision. She reached for the hidden compartment in her suit, her fingers closing around a device that could change everything. The sounds of battle faded into the background as she focused on the choice before her, knowing that her next action would shape the future of two worlds. Species would forever be altered. In that instant, Tara's hand moved decisively. The air crackled with energy as Tara activated a hidden feature in her damaged personal device. A wave of invisible force rippled outward, and suddenly the battlefield fell silent. The advanced weapons wielded by Grok's warriors sputtered and died, their stolen power extinguished in an instant. Confusion rippled through Grok's ranks. Warriors stared at their now useless tools, panic spreading like wildfire. The tide of battle shifted dramatically as Dylan's tribe, armed with their traditional weapons, pressed their advantage. Grok's voice boomed across the clearing, tinged with desperation. "Stand and fight, you cowards!" But his words fell on deaf ears. His warriors, stripped of their perceived magical advantage, broke ranks and fled into the forest. Grok, rage contorting his features, had no choice but to follow, disappearing into the shadows with a final roar of defiance. As the sounds of retreat faded, a hush fell over the battlefield. Dylan's tribe stood in stunned silence, their eyes fixed on Tara. Her silver skin seemed to glow in the pre-dawn light, her alien features set in a mask of willpower. "By the spirits," one of the elders whispered, dropping to his knees. "She truly is divine." Others followed suit, bowing before Tara in reverence. She shifted uncomfortably, acutely aware of the weight of their adoration. A groan cut through the silence. Dylan stirred, his eyes fluttering open. Tara rushed to his side, her hearts pounding with relief and something more primal. "What happened?" Dylan asked, his voice weak but steady. Before Tara could respond, a high-pitched whine pierced the air. The captured Tzenkethi scout, forgotten in the chaos of battle, had activated a hidden distress beacon. Its suit's camouflage flickered and failed, revealing its true alien form to the astonished tribe. Gasps and cries of shock rippled through the gathering. The Tzenkethi took advantage of the distraction, slipping away into the underbrush before anyone could react. Tara's body thrummed with tension. She knew what the distress call meant. Her people were coming for her. Time was running out. As the tribe celebrated their victory, Tara felt a familiar heat coursing through her body. Her mating cycle, suppressed for so long, now raged with unstoppable force. Her eyes locked with Dylan's, and she saw her own need reflected in his gaze. Without a word, they slipped away from the celebrations, finding a secluded spot at the edge of the camp. Their bodies came together in a frenzy of passion, alien and human flesh intertwining in ways never before imagined. As they lay together in the aftermath, Tara's keen senses detected subtle changes in her body. Something unprecedented had occurred, but she couldn't quite grasp its significance. The peace of the moment was shattered by a low hum. Tara looked up to see a series of sleek, metallic orbs floating through the camp, almost invisible to the human eye. Tzenkethi probes searching for her. She tensed, waiting for the inevitable signal that would give away her position. But the probes seemed confused, their search patterns erratic. Unknown to Tara, the unique energy signature of the life growing within her was interfering with their scans. As dawn broke, casting long shadows across the land, Tara knew she faced an impossible choice. The tribe now saw her as a goddess, their savior. How could she reveal the truth without shattering their world? Dylan stirred beside her, his hand finding hers in the dim light. "Tara," he said softly, "whatever comes next, we face it together." She squeezed his hand, drawing strength from his touch. But as she opened her mouth to speak, to finally reveal the truth, a cry went up from the camp. "Look to the sky!" a voice shouted in awe. Tara and Dylan rushed back to the clearing, their eyes widening at the sight above. Ribbons of light danced across the heavens, green and purple and blue, twisting and writhing in patterns never before seen in these lands. The tribe fell to their knees, interpreting the aurora as a divine sign. Tara felt the weight of their belief pressing down on her. Even as she marveled at the beauty of the lights, she didn't understand the connection between the aurora and the changes in her body, but she sensed that time was running out. The Tsenkethi would not give up their search, and now Grok was surely gathering his forces for a final assault. As the tribe's awed whispers filled the air, Tara steeled herself for what was to come. She had to find a way to protect these people she'd grown to care for, to prepare them for the storms gathering on the horizon. But first, she had to tell them the truth, about herself, about the universe, and about the forces now converging on their small corner of the world. The aurora pulsed overhead, a cosmic timer counting down to a future none of them could predict. Tara took a deep breath, her silver skin shimmering in the ethereal light, and stepped forward to address the tribe. The tribe gathered around Tara, their faces a mix of awe and uncertainty as she prepared to address them. But before she could speak, a wave of nausea swept over her. She stumbled, clutching her abdomen as an intense cramping sensation rippled through her body. Dylan rushed to her side, concern etched on his face. "Tara, what's wrong?" She looked up at him, her silver eyes wide with shock. I think I'm pregnant." A collective gasp rose from the tribe. Tara's body shimmered, her alien biology visibly changing before their eyes. Her abdomen swelled rapidly, the accelerated gestation process taking hold. "Impossible," Dylan whispered, his hand gently touching her growing belly. Before anyone could process this revelation, a low hum filled the air. The tribe looked skyward, but saw nothing. Tara, however, tensed. She recognized the sound of a Tsenkethi ship entering the atmosphere, its cloaking technology masking it from human eyes. "We need to move," she urged, struggling to her feet. "My people are coming." As if on cue, a gust of wind swept through the camp, carrying with it the distant sound of war cries. Grok's army was on the move, their numbers swelled by reinforcements from neighboring tribes. Panic rippled through the group. Some tribe members began to flee, while others looked to Dylan for guidance. But it was the shaman, Kor, who stepped forward, his weathered face set in a scowl. "The Sky Woman has brought this upon us," he declared, pointing an accusing finger at Tara. "She is no goddess, but a demon who has lured us to our doom." Dylan moved to stand between Kor and Tara. "She has protected us, saved us from Grok's attacks. We owe her our trust." The tribe murmured, divided. Tara knew she had to act fast. With a deep breath, she activated the last of her functioning technology. Her skin glowed brightly, patterns of light dancing across her body in intricate designs. "I am not a goddess or a demon," she said, her voice carrying across the clearing. "I am a traveler from beyond the stars, and I need your help as much as you need mine." The tribe fell silent, their eyes fixed on Tara's otherworldly display. Some fell to their knees, while others backed away in fear. Dylan stood firm, his hand finding Tara's. "Whatever you are," he said softly, "we face this together." A series of sharp cracks echoed through the forest, followed by the sound of falling trees. The Tsenkethi extraction team had landed, their cloaking devices failing as they entered the clearing. Led by Commander Zarn, they moved with military precision, their alien forms causing fresh panic among the tribe. "Tara of Tsenketh," Zarn's voice boomed through a translator. "You have violated our most sacred laws. Return with us immediately." Before Tara could respond, war horns sounded from the opposite side of the camp. Grok's army had arrived, their weapons glinting in the morning sun. The tribe found themselves trapped between two advancing forces. Dylan's voice rose above the chaos, organizing defensive positions. To everyone's surprise, his words carried weight. Even those who had doubted him moments before fell into line, spears and bows at the ready. Tara's mind raced, searching for a solution. Her pregnancy continued to progress at an alarming rate, waves of energy pulsing from her body. She noticed the Tzenkethi's devices flickering, affected by the hybrid embryo's unique signature. As Grok's warriors clashed with the tribe's defenders at the camp's edge, Tara made her way to Zarn. The Tzenkethi commander's eyes widened at the sight of her swollen belly. "This changes everything," he hissed. "The child must be destroyed. The timeline—" "The timeline has already changed," Tara cut him off. "But we can still protect both our peoples." She outlined her plan quickly, her words punctuated by the sounds of battle. Zarn listened, his expression unreadable behind his protective gear. Meanwhile, Dylan led the tribe's defense against Grok's onslaught. His leadership shone as he coordinated their efforts, using the terrain to their advantage. The tribe fought with a unity and purpose they had never before achieved. As the battle raged, Tara felt a final, intense contraction. She cried out, falling to her knees. The sound drew the attention of both sides, and for a moment the fighting paused. In that instant of silence, a new cry filled the air. Tara held a newborn child in her arms, its skin a mottled mix of human and Tzenkethi features. The baby's first wail sent a shockwave of energy rippling outward, disrupting Tzenkethi technology and causing Grok's stolen weapons to short-circuit. Tara stood cradling her child. She faced the stunned onlookers, human, Tzenkethi, and the tribe caught between them. "This child is the future," she declared, "a bridge between our worlds. We have a choice to make, here and now. We can fight and destroy each other, or we can find a new path forward." The battlefield fell silent as all eyes turned to Tara and her unprecedented offspring. The next moments would determine the course of human and Tzenkethi history. Tara held her breath, waiting to see how both sides would respond to her daring gambit. Proposal. The air crackled with tension as humans and Tzenkethi alike held their breath, waiting to see how this unprecedented situation would unfold. In that critical moment, Tara's mind raced. She knew she had mere seconds to act before the fragile peace shattered. With a deep breath, she activated the last of her functioning Tzenkethi technology. A pulse of energy rippled outward from her body, enveloping the entire battlefield in a shimmering dome of light. The effect was instantaneous. Humans and Tzenkethi alike stumbled, their senses overwhelmed by the localized energy field. Grok's warriors lowered their weapons, blinking in confusion. The Tzenkethi extraction team's devices sparked and fizzled. Even Dylan and his tribe swayed on their feet, disoriented by the sudden sensory disruption. Only Tara remained clear-headed, her body in tune with the energy field generated by her hybrid child. She seized the opportunity, her voice ringing out across the suddenly silent battlefield. "Grok!" she called, her skin shimmering with an otherworldly glow. "You sought the power of the gods. Look upon me now and see the truth." Grok's eyes widened as he beheld Tara in her full alien glory. His religious fervor crumbled in the face of this undeniable evidence of advanced beings beyond his comprehension. Many of his followers, seeing their leader's willpower waver, began to back away from the conflict. Tara then turned to Commander Zarn, her voice taking on a tone of urgent negotiation. "Commander, this child represents an opportunity unlike any your people have encountered. Allow me to remain here, to study its development in this environment. The data we could gather would be invaluable." Zarn's expression was unreadable behind his protective gear, but his posture betrayed his internal conflict. The scientific potential warred with his duty to uphold Tzenkethi law. As the effects of the energy field began to dissipate, Dylan seized the moment. He stood tall, addressing his tribe with a voice that carried authority and conviction. "My people, we stand at the threshold of a new era. Tara has protected us, guided us, and now offers us a chance to be part of something greater than ourselves. We must stand united in the face of these changes." His words resonated through the crowd. Even Kor, the skeptical shaman, nodded slowly, swayed by the undeniable power of the events unfolding before him. Commander Zarn stepped forward, his decision made. "Tara of Tzenketh, your proposal has merit. We will establish an observation post nearby. You will submit to regular, non-invasive monitoring. In exchange, you may remain here with your Offspring. The tension in the air dissipated like morning mist. Grok's remaining warriors, seeing the futility of their position, melted back into the forest. The tribe let out a collective breath, the immediate danger passing. But for Tara, a new challenge was just beginning. Her accelerated pregnancy progressed at an alarming rate. Within days, she found herself in the throes of labor, surrounded by the women of the tribe. Asha, a skilled midwife, took charge of the difficult birth. "Push, Sky Woman," Asha urged, her weathered hands steady as she guided Tara through the process. Tara cried out, her body racked with contractions. Outside the birthing hut, strange phenomena began to manifest. The sky lit up with shimmering auroras, casting an eerie glow over the settlement. Unexplained lights danced through the trees, and the few remaining pieces of Tsenkethi equipment sparked and whined. Dylan paced anxiously, his eyes darting between the birthing hut and the bizarre light show in the sky. The tribe whispered among themselves, interpreting the events as powerful omens. After hours of intense labor, a new cry pierced the air. Asha emerged from the hut, her face a mix of awe and exhaustion. "It is done," she announced. "A daughter is born to the Sky Woman and our chief." Dylan rushed into the hut, his heart pounding. There, cradled in Tara's arms, lay their child. The infant's skin had a faint iridescent sheen, and as she opened her eyes, Dylan gasped. They were unlike any eyes he had ever seen, seeming to hold the vastness of the cosmos within their depths. "Lyra," Tara whispered, her voice filled with a mixture of joy and apprehension. "We'll call her Lyra." As news of the birth spread, the remaining members of Grok's coalition approached the settlement. No longer driven by religious zealotry, they sought integration into Dylan's tribe, recognizing the protection and opportunity it offered in this new reality. The days that followed were a whirlwind of activity. The settlement expanded rapidly to accommodate the newcomers. Knowledge and skills were exchanged, leading to advancements in agriculture and craftsmanship. Through it all, Lyra grew at an astonishing rate, her unique abilities becoming more apparent with each passing day. Commander Zarn, true to his word, established a hidden Tsenkethi base near the settlement. His team of scientists worked tirelessly, monitoring Lyra's development and its effects on the local environment. As Tara recovered from the birth, she noticed subtle changes in her own body. Her Tsenkethi physiology seemed to be adapting, influenced by the process of carrying and birthing a hybrid child. She kept these observations to herself, unsure of their long-term implications. 1 month after Lyra's birth, Tara and Dylan stood at the edge of their growing settlement. The signs of progress were everywhere: new dwellings, expanded fields, and the bustling activity of a thriving community. "We've come so far," Dylan mused, his hand finding Tara's. Tara nodded, her eyes on the horizon where she knew the hidden Tsenkethi base lay. "Yes, but this is just the beginning. Lyra's existence will change everything, for your people and mine." As if in response to her mother's words, Lyra cooed in Tara's arms. A small burst of energy pulsed from the child, causing nearby plants to sway and grow visibly in a matter of seconds. Dylan and Tara exchanged a look of wonder and concern. The full extent of Lyra's abilities and their impact on the world around them was yet to be discovered. As the sun set on another day in this new era, both human and Tsenkethi alike could only watch and wait, wondering what the future held for this unprecedented child and the two worlds she bridged would shape the destiny of both species for generations to come. As the seasons changed and the settlement flourished, Lyra's growth continued at an astonishing pace. By her 3rd month, she had already reached the size and cognitive abilities of a human toddler. Her skin, once merely shimmering, now pulsed with an intense iridescent glow that captivated all who saw her. One crisp morning, as Tara watched Lyra play at the edge of the forest, she noticed something extraordinary. A young deer approached, drawn by curiosity rather than fear. To Tara's amazement, Lyra turned and gazed intently at the animal, her eyes seeming to communicate without words. The deer cocked its head as if listening, then bounded away into the trees. "Dylan," Tara called, her voice filled with wonder. "Come quickly!" Dylan hurried over, his eyes widening as he watched his daughter interact with a series of forest creatures. Squirrels, birds, and Even a cautious fox approached Lyra, each seeming to share some silent exchange before departing. "She's communicating with them," Tara explained, her scientific mind racing to understand the implications. "It's some form of empathic ability. I've never seen anything like it." The tribe quickly learned to harness Lyra's unique gift. Under Tara and Dylan's guidance, hunting parties began consulting with the young hybrid before setting out. Lyra's insights into animal movements and behavior led to more successful hunts and a more stable food supply for the growing settlement. As Lyra's abilities expanded, Tara found her own body continuing to change. The lingering effects of her hybrid pregnancy had accelerated her adaptation to Earth's environment. She no longer tired as easily in the planet's gravity, and cuts and bruises healed with remarkable speed. One afternoon, as Tara worked alongside the tribe's women to prepare hides for tanning, she noticed a splinter lodged deep in her palm. Before she could reach for a bone needle to remove it, the sliver of wood simply pushed its way out of her skin, leaving no mark behind. Asha, the midwife who had delivered Lyra, watched the incident with wide eyes. "The Sky Woman grows stronger," she murmured, a mixture of awe and unease in her voice. Tara smiled reassuringly at the older woman. "It seems Earth is changing me as much as we're changing it," she said, flexing her hand. "Come, let me show you a more efficient way to scrape these hides." As Tara took on a more active role in the tribe's daily life, sharing her knowledge of advanced agricultural techniques and toolmaking, the hidden Senkethi observation team watched with growing concern. In their camouflaged base nestled in a nearby hillside, the scientist Kira pored over data readings, her brow furrowed. "Commander Zarn," she called, gesturing to a holographic display. "You need to see this." Zarn approached, his eyes narrowing as he studied the readouts. "Explain," he ordered curtly. "It's Lyra's energy signature," Kira said, manipulating the display to show a time-lapse of the surrounding area. "It's affecting more than just the local fauna. Look at the plant life." The hologram showed accelerated growth in the vegetation near the human settlement. Trees that should have taken decades to mature reached full height in months. New species of flowers bloomed, their petals shimmering with an almost metallic sheen. "The genetic diversity in the affected area has increased by 200% compared to baseline readings," Kira continued. "If this trend continues—" "We cannot allow further interference," Zarn interrupted, his voice heavy with the weight of his decision. "Expand our monitoring efforts. I want to know everything that happens within a 50-kilometer radius of the settlement, but maintain strict non-interference protocols. We're here to observe, not intervene." As the Tsenkethi grappled with the implications of their discoveries, the tribe's territory continued to expand. It was during one of these exploratory missions that Dylan's group encountered something unexpected, another tribe of early humans, but different from any they had seen before. Led by a powerfully built warrior named Grun, this group of Neanderthals watched the newcomers with a mixture of curiosity and wariness. Their heavy brows and robust frames marked them as distinct from Dylan's people, but there was intelligence in their eyes and skill evident in their finely crafted spears. Tensions mounted as the two groups faced each other across a small clearing. Grun hefted his spear, muscles tensing as he prepared for potential conflict. Dylan raised his hands in a gesture of peace, but the language barrier seemed insurmountable. Suddenly, Lyra toddled forward from behind her father's legs. Before anyone could stop her, she approached Grun, her tiny hand extended. The Neanderthal leader's eyes widened as he felt the touch of Lyra's empathic abilities. For a moment, the forest fell silent. Then, to everyone's amazement, Grun lowered his spear and knelt before the child. He placed his large hand gently on Lyra's head, a gesture of acceptance that transcended the need for spoken language. Dylan exhaled, relief washing over him. He stepped forward, extending his own hand to Grun. As the Neanderthal clasped it firmly, Dylan knew that this encounter would mark the beginning of a new chapter for both their peoples. Back at the settlement, Tara greeted the returning party with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. As Dylan recounted their encounter with the Neanderthals, her mind raced with the possibilities and potential complications of this new development. That night, as Lyra slept peacefully in her fur-lined cradle, Tara and Dylan sat by the fire, discussing the future of their rapidly changing world. "The Neanderthals have so much to offer," Dylan mused, sketching plans in the dirt with a stick. Their hunting techniques are incredible, and Grun showed me plants I've never seen before. Medicinal herbs that could save lives. Tara nodded, her eyes reflecting the dancing flames. And we can teach them about agriculture, show them how to make more advanced tools. She paused, her hand unconsciously moving to her abdomen. Dylan, there's something else we need to discuss. Dylan looked up, noticing the serious tone in Tara's voice. What is it? I'm fertile again, Tara said softly. Much sooner than I should be, according to my species' normal reproductive cycle. I think carrying Lyra has changed me more than we realized. Dylan's eyes widened as he processed the implications. The possibility of more hybrid children, of further blending their two species, hung in the air between them. It was a future filled with both promise and uncertainty. As they sat in contemplative silence, a shout from the edge of the settlement broke the quiet of the night. Strangers approaching, more people coming. Dylan and Tara exchanged a glance before rising to their feet. The world they knew was changing rapidly, and they would need to adapt quickly to whatever challenges lay ahead. As they moved to greet the newcomers, the first of many pilgrims drawn by tales of Lyra's extraordinary abilities, they knew that the future of their tribe, and perhaps all of humanity, hung in the balance. Balance hung in the balance. The settlement was about to face challenges that would test the limits of their newfound unity and Lyra's extraordinary abilities. As the days passed, the effects of Lyra's unique energy signature became increasingly pronounced. The flora and fauna surrounding the settlement underwent rapid changes, evolving at an unprecedented rate. Trees that once took centuries to mature now reached towering heights within months, their leaves shimmering with metallic hues. New species of plants sprouted from the earth, bearing fruits and flowers unlike anything seen before. The wildlife, too, adapted swiftly. Deer developed intricate antler patterns that seemed to glow in the dark, while foxes grew sleek, iridescent coats that allowed them to blend seamlessly with their surroundings. Birds of vibrant colors filled the skies, their songs more complex and melodious than ever before. This accelerated evolution did not go unnoticed by neighboring tribes. Word spread quickly of the bountiful land where nature itself seemed to bend to the will of a miraculous child. Soon, small groups of nomads began to arrive at the settlement's borders, their eyes wide with wonder at the lush paradise before them. Dylan and Tara found themselves facing a new challenge: how to integrate these newcomers into their rapidly growing community. They decided to establish a council of elders, drawing on the wisdom and experience of various groups within the tribe. Grun, the Neanderthal leader, was among those chosen to serve, his deep knowledge of the land and its resources proving invaluable. As the population swelled, the need for more advanced social structures became apparent. Dylan worked tirelessly to organize hunting parties, establish trade networks, and mediate disputes between different factions. Tara, meanwhile, focused on developing new agricultural techniques to sustain their growing numbers. At the heart of these changes was Lyra, now resembling a 5-year-old child, despite being only 6 months old. Her empathic abilities had grown stronger, allowing her to not only communicate with animals, but also influence their behavior. Under her guidance, the tribe began domesticating local species at an astonishing rate. One morning, as the sun rose over the settlement, Lyra stood at the edge of a field, surrounded by a group of wild horses. The animals, typically skittish around humans, remained calm in her presence. With a gentle touch and a focused gaze, Lyra conveyed her intentions to the lead stallion. The horse nickered softly, then lowered its head, allowing a young tribesman to approach and mount it. "Incredible," Tara whispered, watching from a distance. "She's revolutionizing our relationship with nature." Dylan nodded, a mixture of pride and concern on his face. But at what cost? The changes happening around us? They're happening too fast. Unbeknownst to the tribe, the hidden Senkethi observation team shared Dylan's concerns. In their camouflage base, Kira pored over data readings, her face grave as she reported to Commander Zarn. "The background radiation levels are increasing exponentially," she explained, gesturing to a holographic display. "Lyra's energy signature is altering the genetic structure of every living organism in the area. We can't predict the long-term consequences of such rapid evolution." Zarn's expression hardened as he made a difficult decision. "Prepare a containment team," he ordered. "We need to assess the situation on the ground and be ready to implement countermeasures if necessary." As the Tsenkethi prepared for their intervention, the Earth itself seemed to respond to the changes wrought by Lyra's presence. The skies darkened with ominous storm clouds, and the air crackled with static electricity. Brilliant auroras danced across the horizon, their colors shifting and swirling in patterns never before seen. The tribe watched in awe and fear as the first bolts of lightning struck the ground, igniting small fires that were quickly extinguished by the torrential rain that followed. Dylan organized teams to secure their dwellings and gather their herds, while Tara worked to calm the panicking crowds. "We must seek shelter," Grun shouted over the howling wind, pointing to a series of caves in the nearby cliffs. "The spirits of the sky are angry." As the tribe hurried to the caves, carrying what supplies they could, Tara felt a strange sensation coursing through her body. Her skin tingled, and she found herself drawn to the patches of sunlight that broke through the storm clouds. With a start, she realized that her body was absorbing the light, converting it into energy. "Dylan!" she called out, her voice filled with wonder and confusion. "Something's happening to me. I think I'm photosynthesized." Before Dylan could respond, a cry went up from the cave entrance. A group of strangers was approaching, their weapons raised and their faces set in stubborn persistence. Unlike the peaceful nomads who had joined their tribe before, these newcomers radiated hostility. "Protect the caves!" Dylan shouted, grabbing a spear and rallying the tribe's warriors. "Tara, get Lyra to safety!" As the two groups faced off, the storm intensified, mirroring the rising tensions. Lightning illuminated the sky in a constant strobing display, and the wind howled with an almost sentient fury. In the midst of this chaos, Lyra stood at the mouth of the cave, her eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. The young hybrid raised her hands, and a wave of energy pulsed outward, touching the minds of friend and foe alike. For a moment, the battlefield fell silent as every person present felt the weight of Lyra's empathic projection. In the hidden Tsenkethi base, alarms blared as their sensors detected the massive energy surge. Kira turned to Zarn, her voice urgent. "Commander, we're at a critical juncture. If we don't act now, the consequences could be irreversible." Zarn hesitated, torn between his duty to observe and the potential catastrophe unfolding before him. As he weighed his options, the fate of two civilizations hung in the balance, with Lyra's unprecedented powers at the center of it all. As the storm raged and tensions escalated, Dylan's mind raced, formulating a strategy to defend their home. He locked eyes with Tara, a silent understanding passing between them. With a nod, they sprang into action. "Grun!" Dylan called out over the howling wind. "Take your best trackers and form a perimeter. We need eyes on their movements." The Neanderthal leader grunted in acknowledgement, gathering his warriors with a series of guttural calls. They melted into the shadows of the tree line, their robust frames moving with surprising stealth. Tara, her skin still tingling with newfound energy, turned to the tribe's most skilled hunters. "Spread out along the ridge," she instructed, pointing to the elevated ground overlooking their settlement. "Use the cover of the storm to mask your positions." As the defenders took their places, Dylan approached Lyra, who stood resolute at the mouth of the cave. Her small frame seemed to pulse with an inner light, her eyes fixed on the approaching threat. "Lyra," Dylan said softly, kneeling beside her. "I need you to stay back and focus on projecting calm. Can you do that for me?" The child nodded, her gaze never wavering. "I can feel them, Papa," she whispered. "They're scared and angry." Dylan squeezed her shoulder gently before rising to join Tara at the forefront of their makeshift army. The air crackled with tension as the first of the hostile group emerged from the mist-shrouded forest. Suddenly, a wave of serenity washed over the battlefield. The approaching warriors faltered, their expressions shifting from aggression to confusion. Lyra's empathic projection had taken effect, creating a moment of hesitation that Dylan seized upon. "We don't want bloodshed," he called out, his voice carrying over the rumble of thunder. "There's room for all of us here if we work together." For a heartbeat, it seemed as though diplomacy might prevail. Then, with a guttural roar, the leader of the invaders raised his spear and charged forward. The spell of peace shattered, and chaos erupted. Grun and his Neanderthals burst from their hiding spots, engaging the enemy's flanks with precision and ferocity. The air filled with the clang of stone tools and the thud of bodies colliding. Dylan led the charge down the center, his newly forged bronze sword gleaming in the stormlit sky. Tara moved like a force of nature, her body pulsing with energy absorbed from the lightning-streaked heavens. She darted between groups of fighters, her enhanced stamina allowing her to coordinate their defenses tirelessly. Her voice rose above the din, directing reinforcements and calling out enemy movements. As the battle raged, a group of invaders broke through the outer defenses, making a beeline for the caves. Lyra's eyes widened as she sensed their approach. Instinctively, she thrust her hands forward, releasing a surge of empathic energy that rippled through the air like a visible shockwave. The attackers stumbled, their weapons falling from limp hands as they collapsed to the ground, overwhelmed by the intensity of Lyra's projection. But the massive expenditure of power had unforeseen consequences. The very air seemed to shimmer and distort around Lyra. Nearby plants began to twist and grow at impossible speeds, their forms morphing into strange new shapes. Animals caught in the radius of her influence underwent rapid transformations, developing luminescent patches and extra limbs. In their hidden base, the Tsenkethi observation team's equipment blazed with alerts. Kira's fingers flew over holographic displays, her voice tight with urgency. "Commander Zarn, the energy signature is off the charts. We're detecting quantum-level changes in the surrounding matter." Zarn's face was grim as he made the decision that would change the course of two civilizations. "Prepare for emergency intervention. We can't allow this to continue unchecked." Back on the battlefield, Dylan and Tara fought side by side, slowly pushing back the tide of invaders. A loud crack split the air, and they turned to see a group of Tsenketha materializing near the cave entrance, their advanced technology no longer concealed. Tara's heart leapt into her throat as she saw Dr. Vex, the Tsenkethi team leader, approaching Lyra with a strange device. She sprinted towards them, her body propelled by a mixture of maternal instinct and photosynthetic energy. "Wait!" she cried out, interposing herself between the aliens and her daughter. "What are you doing?" Dr. Vex raised his hands in a placating gesture. "We're here to help," he explained rapidly. "Your daughter's power is altering the fabric of reality itself. We need to contain it before irreversible damage occurs." Tara's mind reeled as she processed the implications. She looked from the Tsenkethi to Lyra, then back to the battle where Dylan was fighting to protect their home. With a heavy heart, she made her decision. "Do it," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But she stays with us." As the Tsenkethi activated their containment field, a shimmering dome of energy enveloped Lyra. The child's eyes widened in surprise, but she remained calm, trusting in her mother's judgment. The battle reached its climax as Dylan's forces, bolstered by Lyra's lingering empathic influence, finally gained the upper hand. The invaders began to retreat, many of them looking dazed and uncertain, as if awakening from a shared dream. As the last of the attackers disappeared into the forest, an eerie calm settled over the settlement. Dylan made his way to Tara and Lyra, his eyes widening as he took in the scene. His daughter surrounded by a glowing field, and a group of alien beings standing nearby. "Tara," he said, his voice hoarse from shouting battle commands. "What's happening?" She took his hand, her gaze steady despite the turmoil in her heart. "Everything's changed, Dylan. It's time for the truth to come out." As the tribe began to gather, their faces a mixture of exhaustion, confusion, and awe, Dylan squared his shoulders. He knew that the next few hours would reshape their world in ways he could scarcely imagine. With a deep breath, he prepared to address his people and face the dawn of a new era. As the tribe gathered around, Dylan took a deep breath and began to explain the presence of the Tsenkethi and the true nature of Lyra's abilities. In the weeks that followed, the settlement underwent a profound transformation. The integration of Tsenkethi knowledge catalyzed rapid advancements in every aspect of tribal life. Fields that once yielded meager harvests now burst with abundance, their crops growing larger and more nutritious under Lyra's lingering influence. Tara found herself at the center of this evolution, her body adapting in ways she never imagined possible. One morning, while demonstrating hunting techniques to a group of young tribe members, she stumbled and gashed her leg on a sharp rock. To her amazement, the wound began to close before her eyes, leaving only a faint pink line within minutes. "Incredible," Dr. Vex murmured, examining her leg with a handheld scanner. "Your cellular regeneration has accelerated exponentially. This could revolutionize our understanding of human physiology." Tara's enhanced healing abilities quickly became an asset to the tribe. She took on increasingly challenging roles, leading hunting parties into treacherous terrain and overseeing the construction of more complex dwellings. Her resilience inspired others, pushing the boundaries of what they believed possible. Meanwhile, Dylan grappled with the challenges of managing a rapidly growing population. New groups arrived almost daily, drawn by tales of the miracle child and the promise of a better life. To maintain order, he established a council of advisors, including Tara, Grun, and respected members from various groups within the tribe. "We need to be strategic about integrating newcomers," Dylan addressed the council during one of their first meetings. "We can't risk overwhelming our resources or disrupting the balance we've achieved." Grun nodded, his brow furrowed. "The hunters speak of strange beasts in the forests, animals with keener senses and sharper minds. Our old tactics no longer suffice." As if to underscore Grun's point, a commotion erupted outside the council hut. They emerged to find a group of hunters struggling to control a captured wolf. The animal's eyes gleamed with an almost human-like intelligence as it assessed its captors. Dr. Vex approached, his scanner humming. "Fascinating. The wolf's neural pathways have become significantly more complex. It's as if millions of years of evolution have been compressed into weeks." The changes weren't limited to fauna. The settlement's outskirts teemed with plants of bizarre shapes and colors, their growth visible to the naked eye. Massive fruits hung from trees that had been saplings mere days ago, providing the tribe with an abundance of food. As the community flourished, a new challenge emerged on the horizon. Scouts returned with news of another group, one whose technological prowess rivaled their own. Led by a man named Zoran, this tribe had carved out a significant territory to the east. Dylan called an emergency council meeting to discuss the development. "We need to decide how to approach them," he said, his voice grave. "Do we extend an offer of alliance or prepare for potential conflict?" Opinions were divided. Some, like Grun, advocated for caution, wary of sharing their advancements with outsiders. Others saw an opportunity for mutual growth and protection. Before a consensus could be reached, Lyra's containment field flickered, drawing everyone's attention. The child stood motionless, her eyes unfocused as if seeing something beyond the physical realm. Suddenly, the air around her shimmered, and a vivid projection filled the council hut. The assembled leaders gasped as they witnessed a vision of two tribes joining forces, their combined strength fending off an unseen threat. The image shifted, showing fields of strange crops and herds of bizarre animals, all thriving under the watch of a united people. As the vision faded, Lyra collapsed, caught by Tara's quick reflexes. Dr. Vex rushed forward, his expression a mix of concern and excitement. "Her abilities are evolving faster than we anticipated," he said, scanning Lyra's unconscious form. "These shared visions could be invaluable, but we need to monitor the strain they place on her system." The council erupted into heated debate, their discussions now colored by Lyra's vision. As they argued, Tara felt a strange sensation wash over her, a primal urge tied to the cycle of the moon that hung low in the sky. She caught Dylan's eye, recognizing a similar hunger reflected there. Their moment of connection was interrupted by the sudden appearance of Commander Zarn, his usual composure shaken. "We've detected an incoming celestial object," he announced, his voice cutting through the din. "An asteroid, large enough to cause significant regional damage, is on a collision course with Earth." The revelation silenced the council. Dylan stood, his decision made. "We need to reach out to Zoran's tribe," he declared. "Together, we might stand a chance against this threat. Apart, we're vulnerable." As the council dispersed to prepare for both diplomatic outreach and potential disaster, Tara and Dylan found themselves alone. The air between them crackled with tension, their bodies responding to an ancient rhythm. "Dylan," Tara whispered, her voice husky, I think I think I'm going into heat. He pulled her close, their heartbeats synchronizing. Whatever happens, he murmured against her hair, we face it together. Outside, the moon cast its silver light over a landscape in flux. Plants stretched towards the sky, animals prowled with newfound purpose, and humanity stood on the brink of a transformation that would reshape their world. As Tara and Dylan surrendered to their passion, the future hung in the balance, waiting to be born. Shaped. As dawn broke, casting its golden light over the settlement, Dylan and Tara emerged from their dwelling, their bodies still humming with the afterglow of their passionate night. The air was thick with anticipation, the tribe preparing for both diplomatic outreach and potential disaster. Commander Zarn approached, his usually stoic face etched with concern. We've refined our calculations. The asteroid will impact in approximately 72 hours. We need to act quickly. Dylan nodded, his mind racing. We'll send a delegation to Zorn's tribe immediately. Tara, I want you to lead it. Your enhanced abilities might help convince them of the threat we face. As Tara prepared to depart, Dr. Vex pulled her aside. There's something else, he said, his voice low. We believe we can use Lyra's abilities in conjunction with our technology to create a protective shield, but it will require reducing the containment field around her. Tara's heart clenched at the thought of putting her daughter at risk. She glanced at Lyra, who stood nearby, her small form belying the immense power she held. To Tara's surprise, Lyra now appeared older, closer to a young teenager than the child she had been mere days ago. I'm ready, Mom, Lyra said, her voice steady. I want to help. With a heavy heart, Tara agreed to the plan. She set off with a small group towards Zorn's territory, leaving Dylan to oversee the preparations for the asteroid's arrival. The next 2 days passed in a blur of activity. Tara's diplomatic mission proved successful, with Zorn's tribe agreeing to join forces. As the combined groups worked feverishly to prepare, the Tsenkethi team made final adjustments to their equipment. As the asteroid entered Earth's atmosphere, lighting up the sky with an ominous glow, Dylan gave the signal. Dr. Vex activated the device, and the containment field around Lyra diminished. The young girl's eyes blazed with an otherworldly light as she channeled her powers into the alien technology. A shimmering dome of energy began to form over the combined tribe's territory, growing larger and more solid with each passing moment. Tara watched in awe as her daughter's face contorted with concentration, the effort visibly aging her. The asteroid struck with a force that shook the very foundations of the Earth. The ground heaved and buckled, trees outside the shield toppling like matchsticks. The protective field wavered under the onslaught, flickering dangerously as debris rained down from the sky. Inside the dome, the tribes huddled together, their faces a mix of terror and wonder. Dylan stood at the center, his voice rising above the chaos, offering words of comfort and strength. Tara moved among the people, her touch soothing, panicked minds and calming racing hearts. For what seemed like an eternity, the world outside was obscured by dust and fire. Then slowly the skies began to clear. As the last of the debris settled, the true extent of the devastation became apparent. The landscape beyond the shield was unrecognizable, scoured clean by the impact. With a final surge of energy, Lyra stabilized the protective field. Then, her eyes rolling back in her head, she collapsed. Tara rushed to her daughter's side, cradling her now teenage form. As Dr. Vex examined Lyra, Tara felt a strange sensation coursing through her body. Her skin tingled and her vision sharpened. She realized with a start that her physiology was undergoing another transformation, adapting to the changed environment. Dylan approached, his face streaked with dirt and sweat. Is she all right? He asked, kneeling beside them. Dr. Vex nodded. She's exhausted but stable. Her abilities have evolved beyond our wildest expectations. As the immediate danger passed, the merged tribes began to take stock of their situation. The asteroid impact had reshaped the land, creating new valleys and exposing rich mineral deposits. Dylan organized expeditions to explore the changed terrain, seeking resources and safe areas for expansion. Tara, embracing her new biology, found herself drawn to Dylan with a renewed intensity. As they worked side by side to rebuild and expand their settlement, she realized that her body had fully adapted to Earth's environment. The final barriers between them had fallen away. Weeks turned into months, and the new civilization began to take shape. Lyra, recovered from her ordeal, discovered she could now manipulate time on a small scale, accelerating the growth of crops and healing injuries. Her abilities proved crucial in helping the tribe thrive in the post-impact world. One evening, as Tara and Dylan watched the sun set over their growing city, she turned to him with a smile. "Dylan," she said, her voice soft with emotion, "I'm pregnant again." His eyes widened in surprise and joy. "But I thought—" "My body has changed," she explained. "This pregnancy, it's progressing normally, like a human's would." Dylan pulled her close, his hand resting gently on her belly. As they stood there, silhouetted against the fading light, they knew that this child symbolized more than just their love. It represented the full integration of their two worlds and the promise of a future neither of them could have imagined when their journey began. Behind them, the city hummed with activity. The Tsenkethi observation team, led by Dr. Vex, had decided to remain on Earth indefinitely, establishing a hidden base of operations. They worked in secret with Dylan, Tara, and other tribal leaders, guiding the development of this unique civilization. As night fell, Tara and Dylan made their way back to the center of the city. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new discoveries. But for now, they savored the moment, their hands intertwined, their hearts beating as one with the pulse of the extraordinary world they were building together.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.